Ehud Olmert, welcome to 7:30.
Hi.
As I just mentioned, the Israeli army last night struck the Jabalia refugee camp, claiming to kill a senior Hamas commander involved in the attacks on Israel. But the strike also killed dozens of civilians. Does Israel make a calculation as to how many innocents it's prepared to kill to take out one Hamas commander?
First of all, I'm not certain that so many innocent civilians were killed yesterday. It was headquarters of Hamas, and everyone present there was part of Hamas and the fighting group of Hamas. They were killed, but they were not innocent civilians to start with. However, obviously, of course, we are fully aware of the fact that considering the concentration of many civilians near the headquarters of Hamas in the urban center of Gaza, there is a likelihood that sometimes the innocent civilians will be involved against our best wishes. We don't want them to be there, and that's why we demanded that they will be moved out of Gaza altogether into the southern part of Gaza so that they will not be affected by the need to reach out for the commanders of Hamas.
Does that mean
I can't speak in numbers.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but does that mean that you believe those civilians who choose to remain in northern Gaza are legitimate targets?
No one who is a civilian, innocent, uninvolved person is a legitimate target. But the number of people concentrated in the areas which are attacked by Israel are not innocent civilians. Many of them are commanders, fighters, killers, murderers of Hamas. And I don't think that anyone has to fall into the trap of Hamas, describing everyone who is killed as an innocent civilian.
No.
Many of them are the murderers and the killers of Hamas that were involved in the perpetration of these atrocities in the state of Israel. And now, in an attempt to save them, they describe them as innocent civilians. They are not. There are probably, as I said, I don't deny it and I don't ignore it, there is probably a collateral damage, and there are also innocent civilians that are killed. We try to reduce this number to the inevitable minimum.
Yeah, nonetheless, I think nonetheless,
in our power to reduce this number.
I understand that, and nonetheless, despite what you're saying, it's been obvious that there have been very high civilian casualties in Gaza. Let me ask you a question about your own time as Prime Minister. Did you make calculations like this when you were?
Miss Ferguson,
yes.
Miss Ferguson, if I may say, it's not. Nothing is obvious. You don't know, obviously, in Sydney, or anyone even here knows the exact and accurate number of casualties among civilians. They make an announcement. Sometimes they know the number of people killed even before they uncover the ruins behind them. So, we have to be very careful. I believe that there are innocent casualties, and I regret every one of them. But let's not be a little bit to get away with the inflated and unrealistic numbers.
Let's just talk about the calculations that you made when you were Prime Minister of Israel, particularly during the 2009 invasion of Gaza. I assume that you made the same calculations, that is, how many civilian casualties will the world tolerate before support for that invasion fell away as it did?
To be honest with you, I don't think that we sit there with pencils and we mark, numbers of how many we can kill here, how many we can kill there, how many casualties, innocent casualties can be here and there. This is not how it works. We try to minimize the number to the inevitable minimum. This is a terrorist organization. What they are capable of, they have manifested on the 7th of October in killing more than 1,500 Israeli civilians in their homes, where there can be no mistake that they don't want or they don't target soldiers. They targeted innocent civilians, babies. They beheaded babies of 2 years old, 3 years old. They slaughtered them. They raped the mothers and then shot them in the head. They killed people of 85 years and 80 years old. So they were killing innocent civilians for the sake of killing innocent civilians. That's not how it works with us. We don't want to kill any innocent civilians, but we want to reach out for the killers. I can tell you that whatever the numbers were in 2009, one thing is fundamental fact which must be remembered and can't be forgotten. We killed the terrorists. We targeted the terrorists. There were some innocent civilians killed. However, 24 hours after the end of the Cast-Lead operation in 2009, I hosted in the home of the Prime Minister of Israel in Jerusalem 8 of the most important political leaders, national leaders of Europe. The President of France, the Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Just a minute. Yes. Just 1 second. I'll finish the sentence. So they recognized Israel's right to respond to terrorist actions, even when sometimes there are innocent civilians killed as a result of these aggressions.
But nonetheless, the point remains that at that time you were unable to complete the mission that you had in Gaza because you lost international support because of mounting casualties. And my question is, are you concerned that you're going to see the same thing here?
Your assumption is entirely inaccurate. The reason I didn't complete it then was because it was 3 weeks before the general elections in Israel. I already retired. I was not running again, so the political circumstances in Israel did not allow the continuation of this campaign, although I think it was a tragic mistake because we lost the opportunity to then remove and eradicate Hamas from their dominant position in Gaza. In any event, you are right in assessing that the time is running out. Time is running out. Strangely enough, when this whole thing started, President Biden, Prime Minister Sunak, President Macron, Chancellor Scholz, all of them came to Israel, and others, all world leaders from Western Europe, came to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and announced that Israel has a right to respond, that Israel has a right to try and reach out for the Hamas and destroy the Hamas and so on and so forth. Now that we try to do it, everyone says you don't have time, you can't do it. What did people think? That we can enter into Gaza and that there will be none civilian casualties at all? Is it possible? Is it manageable considering the circumstances?
So let's talk about the circumstances now and how Israel wins and loses international support that is crucial. So as Prime Minister, you got very close to signing a deal for a two-state solution. Now, as this war is raging, you're still saying that is the only viable way out. Is that correct?
Yes, and I want to share with you what I think can be in the near future, the effort that the Israeli government should make and that may receive also an international support. We have to announce what the end game of Israel is. What do we see as the end game of this effort now? I think that if Israel will make it clear, number one, that while we are going to eradicate the Hamas, we are not going to occupy Gaza and we are going to pull out immediately after completing this job. Number one. Number two, I think that we have to make already now an effort to get the support of the international community to send an international intervention force, perhaps of NATO, that will take over Gaza once Hamas is eradicated in order to restore civil administration, in order to start rebuild Gaza, and in order to prepare Gaza for the takeover of the Palestinian Authority, which has to be in charge of Gaza, but they will not come on the Israeli bayonets. They may come after a buffer period where the international intervention force will be in charge of Gaza.
And
finally, which is the most important thing, Israel has to make a clear statement from the outset that we are committed to a two-state solution as the solution for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. If that will be the commitment of the Israeli government, it will make it easier for the international community to acquiesce with what now they don't like, which is the Israeli attack in the urban center of Gaza, for us is inevitable in order to achieve our goals.
Well, let me ask you a question about that. Do you think that members of the war cabinet in Israel agree with you that that statement of the peace afterwards should be made now?
I'm not certain about that. I have to be honest with you. I'm not certain about that. But you started introducing me by saying that I am one of the most fierce opponents of Netanyahu. That's part of the reason why I'm in opposition to Netanyahu, because unfortunately at the time he didn't have any strategy to move forward towards peace. That couldn't justify, that never will justify, never will be accepted as a reasonable reason for the atrocities committed by Hamas. The atrocities committed by Hamas are the nature, the DNA, the substance, the raison d'etre of Hamas is to kill Jews and to destroy the state of Israel, and it has nothing to do with the lack of peace between us and the Palestinian Authority.
That said, I'm just going to interrupt you there. I'm running out of time, so forgive me for interrupting. Given what you just said about Hamas, there is a question to be asked about why 16 years passed without this effort against Hamas being taken. But let's park that question for now, Ehud Olmert. I want to ask you, can Israel have a credible plan for the future with Netanyahu in charge?
No, you know my position. I haven't, it's not been hidden. I say time and again, Netanyahu has to be fired today rather than tomorrow. He is not fit for the job. We have to have another prime minister. There can be few who are qualified and could be good and acceptable and trusted prime ministers that will pursue what I have outlined, which is to continue to fight against Hamas and to eradicate Hamas in Gaza, to allow the international intervention force to take over, to start a momentum of negotiations with the Palestinian Authority for the creation of a two-state solution. If that will be the direction, I think things can move forward in the right way.
Ehud Olmert, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.